So today I'm going to be walking you guys through how I use AI in my design workflow, from defining the problem to creating a research plan, synthesizing my research, doing UI generation, prototyping, doing analytics, post-production and all that. So we're going to be doing the entire thing. So let's jump straight into FeedJam and get started. So my first step is to chat about a problem I have with a GPT I created called product thinking. So what I've basically done with that GPT is I gave it this instruction here, help me define a clear product problem. Basically, this instruction I gave to that GPT. So what I do is I go with my current problem I'm having with rough evidence. The evidence could be from anything, right? It could be from user feedback. It could be from analytics on Mixpanel or whatever. So I go to ChatGPT with that and say, define this problem, and this is the output it gives me. I define that problem with ChatGPT, and when I'm done, I save that as output as preplanning.md, which we have here, preplanning.md. I save it as an MD file. So what I do for my next step is I have a plugin by our listener called 63 Designer Skills. So what I do is I take my MD file and I go into Claude and say, using preplanning.md, run a full research discovery cycle using these designer skills from our listeners. I want personas, I want empathy map, I want journey map, and also what computer analysis. So Claude does this thing, and when it's done, it gives me this entire research discovery cycle and also suggests a research plan for me to follow, right? Basically, what my research goal should be and what research methodology I could use to achieve that goal. So same thing, I save this as an MD file called research.md. So each step's built on the previous step. So now that I have my research.md, I look at the research methodology, right? How do I gather data for my research? Do I have to speak to users to understand this problem better? Do I have to send surveys and get quantitative data? If it's an existing problem, do I have to do a usability test of my prototype, right? How do I get data? But something I always tell Claude to default to is my internal data, right? What data do we have internally that already exists? Especially if this is for an existing product. I basically built an agent that looks through support ticket, looks through session replays. Because right now, Mixpanel has an MCP, so looks through session replays, looks at our core nodes, basically looks at all our internal signal and figure out what our users are already telling us, right? So this is at my default. Then after doing this, if I want to understand the problem better, then I can start doing user interview. I can start doing survey. I can start doing the other works. So same thing, I save this at data collection.md, because when doing research, when you're done gathering data, you want to be able to make sense of that data. So you want to be able to make sense of that data. And the way we usually do that is we create I want to say user experience taxonomy. Basically, we create UX taxonomy, which are basically tags we use to tag the data we just collected, right? Using pinpoint, behavior, workaround, motivation, and friction. So if the user says, when I'm trying to understand how Ethereum improvement proposal works, I ask ChatGPT, right? So we tag that with a tag called workaround. So basically just create tag to tag this our data. Because what this tag is going to help us do is, it's going to help us cluster these tags into themes, right? For us to generate insights from them. So same thing, since I already have that at data collection.md, I feed that to Claude and say, using research.md, basically I want Claude to understand context, right, of what problem I'm trying to solve, and using data collection.md, create UX taxonomy for tagging insight using pinpoint, behavior, workaround, motivation, and friction. Then when it's done, I do a fill-up. I say tag data collection.md and cluster insights into teams. This team should have team name, supporting evidence, which is basically all the data that's tagged into that team, frequency and severity. When Claude is done doing that, then I go ahead and say, convert these clusters into opportunities using how might we. Also scope out potential solutions and impact versus effort of these potential solutions, right? So I save this as synthesis.md. So now remember, everything builds off the previous thing. So now that I have synthesis.md, I'm going to start doing UI research. And when doing UI research, when I'm doing manually, when I'm going to get my hands very dirty, I use Mobbing. But when I want Claude to do it for me, I use Referral MCP, right? I think I pay $17 a month for Referral. So I use Referral MCP and say, tell Claude, reference synthesis.md. So basically, when you're doing your data collection, you might have several Helmite trees. You might even have up to 4 or 5 Helmite trees, depending on how broad the problem you're trying to solve and what your goal is. So I can say, okay, using research synthesis.md for opportunity 1, use referrer to find 5 to 10 relevant UI flows, design patterns, extract interaction model, information hierarchy, and trade-off, and save this as a UI pattern.md. Okay, so at this point, I want Claude to update Claude and memory and .md. So in case I stop here, it should have context when I want to resume this. So Claude is going to use the referrer MCP, and it's going to check out all the UI flows, extract the data I need for me. And when it's done, because I like tackling one problem at a time, so if I have 4 opportunities, I do them one at a time. So when I'm done with opportunity 1, I'll go to the next step and start generating UI concepts for it. Right. So I'm also going to tell Claude, generate 4 UI directions using referral and give rationale for each of these directions. When it's done, I look at the directions and see which I think is solving the problem best. If I have 2 that I think I want to test, I will tell Claude to go ahead and prototype these direction. Also, let me know what assumptions need to be tested and success criteria. So when Claude is done doing this, it gets me prototype ready. I'll go into Maze, hook up my prototype, and start testing. Theoretically, I'm done testing. Prototype 1 is the idea that I like. All right, I think it's solving the problem, and I want to start fleshing this out. I want to start making this look good. So prior to this, I probably have my design system.md saved, right? But just for the sake of this, I'm having it at this step. So what I'm going to do is, now I have prototype 1, I'm going to use the Figma MCP to import this into Figma, right? And start refining the design, start polishing the details, and start adding taste to it, basically. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to come back to Claude and say, okay, I'm basically going to copy a link to my Figma file containing the design. I'm going to come back to Claude and say, using the Figma MCP and design system.md, which is basically an MD file of all my design system tokens, right? I want you to implement this Figma design. All right, so Claude is going to do everything needs to get done. And usually it gets it 1 for 1. If you use your design tokens, using auto layout where you need to use them, it usually gets it 1 for 1. Right, so it's going to implement that design, and my design is going to be ready. I usually like doing a bit of polishing here. This is automated, but I'm just showing it here. So I have a Claude skill for UX writing. I use the Google Material Guideline when I'm writing UX or product. I'm writing copy for product rather. So I have a skill built in. So when it's at this stage, I'll start polishing, right? I'm going to tell Claude to use that skill to improve the copy across products. Also give me rationale for what is improving and what is being changed. I'm also going to start adding micro interactions, either using Rive, or I may just use Emiko skill, web animation skill, to add default micro interactions everywhere. If I need to critique, for example, I might use Magic Path for critiquing. But with Claude Design, I haven't tried Claude Design for critiquing yet. I think it might be good. Then I have a file called taste.md. This is a ritual I've had for like the last 5 years. Every day I look at designs on Mobbing, on Pinterest. I save them into a FigJam dashboard. I say dashboard, too much design. I save them into a FigJam workspace where I basically highlight the things I like about that design. So I have that saved as an MD file, which, well, I'm trying to use it to build taste for my AI. Okay, so at this point, our product is ready for production. It might even be in product at the moment. I also like looking at metrics when this has gone live to know if this product is solving the problem I designed it to solve. So right now, Mixpanel have an MCP, which I think it's fairly good. I've connected this to Claude, right? So Claude can always run analysis for me on Mixpanel if I don't want to do this manually, right? But I like watching session replays myself. But just in case there's something I want Claude to pick up automatically, I can just connect my Mixpanel MCP. And that is my entire flow. I think I was able to get it done in 10 minutes, which I think is great. Yeah, but pretty much that's my entire flow of how I use AI in my workflow. So just to recap, 2 main tools I use is ChatGPT and Claude. Then I connect a couple of MCPs, Figma MCP, Mixpanel MCP, Referrer MCP. That's my 3 primary MCP when I'm working. Then I also have a couple of ND files and a couple of skills I have built, which I would share publicly probably by weekend. So yes, that's pretty much it. And let me know if you have questions. always happy to answer questions.